And now, Fairfax Breakfast Club with your host, Bazil Lemba.
Hello, welcome to the Fairfax Breakfast Club show. My name is Bazil Lemba and I will be your host. The Fairfax Breakfast Club show is a weekly program in which we bring you valuable and workable know-how you can use in order to improve your networking and grow your business. We always start the show with a quote. This week quote in alignment with the networking basics number 3, meaning interested versus interesting. There is a difference between interest and commitment. When you are interested in doing something, you do it only when circumstances permit. When you are committed to do something, you accept no excuses, only result. With us in the studio today, we have someone who specializes in a subject called branding. Her name is Akia. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good.
Great.
All right. Take a little bit of a crowbar to get her over here, just so you know.
It's not fair. That's so unfair.
It may not be fair, but folks, I'm between you and I have to tell the truth. So how are you?
I'm great.
Very good, very good.
I am. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. So tell us about what you do.
Well, I'm a communication specialist. I focus on branding, marketing, and communication. I own Brand Builder, which is a full services communication and marketing firm. I've been doing branding for about 15 years now, marketing, business development, sales, all the functions of communication. And I'm an entrepreneur, so I am every day out there making it happen, trying to build relationships and help people to communicate effectively.
Very good. What is your ideal customer?
My ideal customer is someone who's been in business from 3 to 5 years, who's generating at least $3 to $5 million in revenue, and who is ready to communicate effectively around their brand. So it's not the startup who's just looking to launch a brand with his or her logo. It's someone who's already launched their brand. They've been in business long enough to gain some experience, to see what works and doesn't work, and then to measure their effectiveness with between what they're saying and what they're doing, so that they can then be more effective in communicating about what it is that they want to do in toward their target audience's needs. Okay. So does that make sense?
Yes. Well,
okay.
Give us an example of somebody or company that you have helped on what happened. Like there was an A situation and you did this and then you wound up in a B situation. So the audience can get a clear-cut idea of what you're talking about.
Okay.
A better idea. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my clients in the financial services industry had been in business for many, many years and is generating a great deal of revenue. He was flying under the banner of a partner who he decided he was going to begin branding his own name instead of solely branding the name of his partner. And so he had already had a customer base, he already has a relationship with his customers out there, he already has a brand, but he wanted to switch gears and to begin using a different brand that would represent who he is versus who he was or is with his partner.
Gotcha.
That partner relationship has not gone away, and it's very important to him. So it was very important that when we rebranded him, it still allowed for his partner to be in the spotlight with him. So what happened was we went through what we call a vision and mission mapping process, where it is helping him to articulate and then conceptualize and cast out his vision and mission for the company, and then pull together copy or language that would go in all of the places where he would begin marketing that new name and that new brand, such as his website, his brochures, capability statements, and all the other supporting documentation. Because he was rebranding himself, he needed a new logo. He also needed a new brochure. He needed new business cards, and he has a great deal of staff members, so all of his staff members needed new business cards, and everybody needed a new signature for their emails and all of those things. So the total rebranding for him was not just for him, but for his staff staff, and everybody on his staff needed to understand, here's where we're going with this business, here's why we're doing it, and here are all the tools that you need to begin marching with this particular brand. So that's an example of how I might step into an existing customer's life and help them to rebrand what it is that they're doing. Okay. And it works better for me to work with companies that have already branded themselves in a certain way, because as I said earlier, they are able to look at everything that they say about what they do and everything that they actually do, and then they can say, well, you know, here's where we found successes, here's where we have some challenge. I'd like to eliminate those things that we're saying we do until we can find the true capability to do it, and I'd like to only focus on communicating about the things that I know for sure I'm able to do. So part of the process allows for the clarification of messaging so that you're not diluting your message by saying things that really don't contribute to your success.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good. Now I have another question for you. What is your biggest challenge in life?
My biggest challenge in life? In life? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked me that. I just recently launched a total a campaign around transformation, and it's physical transformation. For years, I've been working on inner self. And in 1995, I ran a marathon. I raised money for the AIDS crisis. And after the marathon, you know, I wasn't running as much. I wasn't doing as much as I could. And business, you know, became a real focus. And, you know, I've got children. My daughter went off to college this year. And so a lot of things in life really began to take priority. And as a result, my health wasn't as on the front burner as it could have been. Gotcha. And so just this week, I launched a total transformation project. It's called Even Greater Balance, and it's all about gaining balance, not just internally for me, but externally. So I'm blogging out loud about this challenge that I've had regarding, you know, my exterior, and am putting a goal out there in terms of what I'd like to see myself look like in 2 years. And I'm going to be chairing a fundraiser event in DC in 2 years where I will unveil my new outer self. And it's we're really excited about it. It's a big deal. So I've got sponsors coming alongside me. I just spoke with one of my sponsors earlier today because we are going to be pulling together a special salsa for me. She's a salsa manufacturer down in Florida, and she's making a special diet salsa for me that I'm going to be snacking on over the next 2 years. I've got a skin specialist who's working with me. I've got a seafood chef, Chef Tony, thank you, out in Bethesda at Chef Tony's at Bethesda, who's going to be my seafood chef for this total transformation project. And at the end of the day, it's going to help me to launch an even greater balanced Akia Garnett. Yeah. So thank you for asking me that question, because I certainly didn't think we were going to go in that direction, but I'm glad we did.
You're very welcome. And the next question will be, what is your biggest success in life?
Oh, ooh, well, it would be my children, having children, watching my daughter go off to college just a few months ago. She's 18 years old. And I just didn't think I'd see the day when I'd, you know, have a college daughter, you know, a college-age daughter. I don't know. I just, you know, it's so, I don't know. It just seemed, it made everything so real. I mean, everything was real before that, certainly parenting, but just watching her go to college just seemed full circle for me. So that, I think, is my greatest challenge. It's raising children and specifically sending one off to college.
Okay. Very good. So you have another one that will be sending to college very soon also? I
do. She's in 11th grade, and she's probably going to take a different track. She's interested in the academy, so probably naval. She's been in ROTC for the last 3 years. She's a great girl, very science-oriented. And I have a son who's 11, and of course he's still trying to figure it out, what he wants. He's trying to figure it out. Yeah, he's giving me, yeah. So we haven't really started his career track yet, but it's coming. It's coming. He doesn't have much time.
Okay, now I know you have attended a breakfast event.
Yeah.
I would like for you to please share, if you don't mind, your experience with the audience.
Your breakfast events are just wonderful. I tell people about them all the time, and what I particularly like about them is the speed networking. You just drive such a hard schedule. I mean, really. It just doesn't allow for...
She's kidding.
No, I'm not. It's like a drill sergeant. And so it forces you to be concise and clear with what it is that you want to say with how many people, 40 some odd, 50 some odd people. So, and maybe, I guess, 100 people there all together, I don't know. But it's a great thing. And it's also, it requires a lot of confidence because your speed networking is, you're saying the same thing over, you know, or it can be an organic discussion if someone brings up something outside the realm of what you were expecting to say, but you have to sit beside someone, and so they get to hear your pitch, and you get to hear theirs, and so that's, you know, in a nutshell, it's you pitching to someone, but then the person sitting next to you hearing your pitch at least 50 times, and so
let you know when to assign.
Yeah, and so, you know, you're hitting them both ways. Actually, it's two people on both sides, so two people hear it 50 times, and so that's a really interesting thing. And I love your introduction session. I mean, there are some events that are so large that you're not able to get up and really introduce yourself to the whole room. And because you do that, I think it's great. And the venue, of course, in downtown Fairfax is very nice as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great program you're running. Lots of value for small businesses in the area.
Yeah, you're right. You're making a very good point because when we designed the program, basically we want to design a program that basically when you, Akia, when you walk into a room, what do you want to see happening? We put that in. What is that you're not interested in? We took that out. So every item that is there is designed for the guest.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly working because I don't like to miss them, and sometimes if I'm traveling or if I've got another commitment with clients or so, I'm not able to make it. But I'm looking forward to your upcoming event. I'm certainly going to be there with bells on.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have the big expo coming up on December 7th.
Yeah.
We're going to have over 100 exhibitors, 400 to 500 people in attendance. In fact, we have a little clip that we're going to run here for a minute so you can see it. Welcome back. So yes, we're going to have 100 exhibitors, 400 to 500 business people, and as I say, Jan Fox will be the MC. She's a 4-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, and Doc Walker will be the guest speaker.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
He's a great speaker. I'm
Absolutely.
glad to hear that.
Yes, yes.
I think he was at the last event, Fairfax Club event that I was at, and
yes,
he was
that's right.
He took such great interest in what you're doing, and so I'm glad to see that come to fruition.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have seminars, food, of course, and what have you. So do not miss that December 7th. We still have some booths available if you want to exhibit, so you can join us. I think you'll be one of our exhibitors.
I am.
Of course, and soon to be sponsor, maybe, if you're threatening to become a sponsor.
It sounds as if you're pitching. It sounds as if you're pitching to me. Oh, gosh.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, I have another question for you. What advice could you give to a small business person? In running their business, based on what you do, what you know, marketing, branding, communication.
Yeah.
From that perspective, what advice would you give to a small business person?
The advice I would give is to always know your vision and your mission before you even approach the concept of branding. Branding in the form of your logo, your website, business cards, brochures, those are all what we call visual representations of your brand. Okay. But that's not your brand in itself. The brand in itself is the experience. And so once you have understood the vision of where you're going and you've articulated that, meaning you've written it down and you've shared it with others so that they can give you feedback, and you've articulated your mission and you've written that down and you've shared it with others so that they can give you feedback, and you take your vision and your mission and you put them together and say, do they connect? Are they, repeating one another, or are they truly different? Then you can begin to create the experience in your mind for what you want the customer to go through when he or she ever interfaces with your brand, the visual representation of your brand or the brand itself, meaning the experience. So my advice to small businesses, small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, whoever is out there who's been brave enough to step up and say, I'm going to do this for myself, is to make sure that you know your vision, make sure you know your mission, and that you have one, both articulated vision and mission, and then begin to create the experience. And once you've created the experience, that's when you move toward your logo. That's when you move toward your website and all the other visual representations of your brand. And I caution small businesses with that because they tend to jump in right away with a logo. If they say, I'm going to go into business, and the first thing they say is, I need a logo, I need a website, I need business cards, I need all these things. And the challenge is that once they gain more clarity with where they're going, they want to change the logo. They say, this logo doesn't look right, or this website, you know, it's not saying what I wanted to say, or these business cards, I really don't like them. And the challenge there is that there's money and cost incurred and time incurred when you continue to make changes to what your brand looks like. When you're very clear on where you're going and why you're doing it, there should be very little changes to your brand. The most important thing is to make sure that you're always perfecting the experience, because that is the brand in itself.
Interesting. Now, when you mean experience, let's say in the case of a restaurant, it's a matter of the food they serve and people eat. That's what you mean by experience?
It's everything. It's the way, it's when you walk in the door. It's the way it smells. It's the carpet coloring. It's the forks that you choose to use, the knives that you choose to use. It's the wait staff. It's what they're wearing. It's how they greet you. It's how their hair is combed or pulled back. It's their adornment. It's everything. It's the lighting. It's the music. Is it loud or is it low? It's all of those things. It's the parking lot. It's the way that the building is shaped and everything else that goes with that. It's the logo, it's the coloring, it's the people, it's the way that they treat you. All of those things are a part of a brand. And the way that a person feels when they experience your brand determines if they're going to come back. Because people are interested in being treated well and feeling good when they are consuming, when they're a consumer, right? That's the whole point. And so you've got to be able to cater to that particular like that a consumer has in order for them to feel as if this brand is for me. And so, you know, you can change your logo over and over and over again, but when you get to that experience, that's what has to be perfected.
So the experience then will dictate the logo. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so in the beginning, when you're starting out, of course, you haven't really run through the experience enough, but you have an idea of what that experience should be, and that's where the branding and logo and so forth come in.
Interesting. Now, I do know you are a lot. You go to different conferences, and for recently it's coming from Richmond.
I did. I spoke in SwamFest yesterday. Myself and my co-authors of Seen and Sustained, Molly Pointe-Petit, Jane Lovis, and Tamika Bradshaw were all co-authors on Seen and Sustained, which is a workbook for small and diverse business owners.
I think we can see a picture of the book right here.
Yeah, and yesterday we were, yesterday and the day before yesterday actually, we were exhibiting and speaking at SwamFest, which is put on by George Mason University.
Why do you want to please explain what SwamFest stands for?
SwamFest is for small women and minority business owners, and it's an event that George Mason University puts on every year with a host of other colleges and universities that have a requirement for spend in the diverse community. And so the vendors who would like to or who are doing business with them come to learn more about how they can better serve the needs of universities. And so while we were there as guest speakers and we presented 3 different sessions that were all on establishing your company's vision, we were also exhibitors as well. And so we did some great things while we were there. We met lots of people, had a great opportunity to teach some of the things that we do collectively as partners and also individually as entrepreneurs of our own businesses. And so it was a wonderful experience. It was great. And you're right, I do teach as well, adjunct professor. I've been teaching marketing and business and consumer behavior type courses for the last 3 years now. On the university level, I teach to undergraduate and graduate students. So I allow for my theory to inform my practice. I am very theory-oriented, but I'm also very practice-oriented because I've been in the field in marketing all these years, but I've also been behind the lectern in the university setting, and so I research and then I practice. And I look at both of these things and see how can I find the perfect place that's practical for the entrepreneur, but that's also rooted in best practices, so that they're not so far out there away from what everybody else is doing in mainstream that they can't catch up as time evolves. And so that's how I spend my time in academia.
Good. Well, I think they complement one another when it comes to that, but also the progress that goes in the field of marketing, or pretty much you can say in any profession, but also you got to keep up with what's going on, and then marketing is changing because habit, the society is changing. It gives you the opportunities to stay in touch with the different changes.
Yeah.
So that's definitely beneficial.
Absolutely. And it's, really, that the door swings both ways because academia is learning from what's happening in the field as well. So it's not just theory that's informing practice, it's both. Practice informs theory too.
Definitely.
Yeah, so if practitioners in the field, like myself, I'm a marketing practitioner. If I'm in the field and I'm working and I'm doing enough of things and finding successes, then theory needs to know about that because theory needs to start researching that and finding out why is that successful so that that can become a part of best practice, definitions. So the door does swing both ways.
It's not a bad place to be because in teaching, once you're in the field, I will admit I am an architect by profession, and what I noticed when I was in school is the best professor we had was those who have a practice. They were architects, they had their own office, they'll come and teach. Because they bring that reality of which is as opposed to just coming to well, in 1943 there was an ark that was being built and there's no connection with real life. So the professor relaxed them more, those who have their own practice, because they were much more fascinating because it was real.
I completely agree. I love to talk about real case studies to my students.
Exactly.
And they enjoy that. They want to know that what they're learning is usable and that it's relevant to today's market. And so, I give them a good dose of both. They get the practice, but they also get that theory.
No, they have to, but it's just because it's, teaching has two aspects, the theory and practice. What happened with the person who's not practicing is that it's just moving theory, and it soon becomes meaningless because the student cannot hang it on anything.
That's right.
But when as you give him the case study or whatever, now he can see how this translates into this. He learns better, and it makes sense to him, and then he can see why he's studying it. Whereas you can give him the theory all along, his theory, well, he's being forced to study it, he can study it, but he does not see how that relates to anything.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we, when we did Seen and Sustained, me and my co-authors, we knew that doing it in a workbook format was the best way so that people could read but learn because they're writing and they're going through exercises at the same time. We've found that, from a cognitive perspective, that's how people are able to retain knowledge. And so helping people to learn as they go by doing something at the same time has proven to be a lot more successful than just feeding them a ton of information and expecting them to retain it and then to know how to apply it in any given scenario.
Well, I'll go even further. I've been to some different conferences here and there. Sometimes it's 1 day or 2 days, and they have an area of people going on stage, and then theory and theory and theory. It is so hard on the guests. It is so hard. You want to have some practice, get them to do some exercise, some drills, or break it down, or vary the program. But having them just it act like if you're hypnotizing them, for that matter. You're just having this flow to you. You're not even allowed to put anything out. It's not the best. So a combination of both theory and practice in anything always keep the interest up.
I agree.
And improve the learning, for that matter.
I agree. I mean, conferences are tough, period. And so, there's so many things going on. I was talking to someone yesterday about being at SwimFest and how great it is because they have really perfected that process. They have an exhibit hall, but instead of it running the whole time, they found a way to really get that down to a certain period of time where you're exhibiting, and then after that you're focused on learning. And so when you are a small business owner and you only have you or one other employee working for you, you have to decide when you go to a professional development event, am I going to take the time to exhibit, or am I going to take the time to learn? And so they've really fixed it. They've figured out how to help people build relationships by having their exhibit in the exhibit hall and showing their wares, but also sit in the classroom so that they can learn and get that professional development that they need as an entrepreneur and a business